Hello, welcome back to the 7 steps to heal our relationship with nature and to step 2. And this is really about looking today at ways that our relationship with nature might be broken and why it happens, but also looking at what is going right already. So a key quality for this is mindfulness, which is really just about paying attention on purpose, and being with your sort of present moment experience. So it's getting away from these kind of habitual patterns and things, and just actually looking at them, seeing what's going on, and making conscious choices. So it can be really powerful. And is very good for sort of breaking habits and things like that, and also choosing habits that are helpful to us as well. Not all habits are necessarily unhelpful. So you're invited through the pages on dragonmindfulness.co.uk to really notice the stories and messages that are around about nature, and stories and messages that you might have received in your past, the things that maybe you tell yourself for whatever reason. So feel free to share anything that you notice in the Facebook group or in the comments to this video. Maybe it's things that you see in adverts or social media messages, things like that. They could be positive or maybe a bit negative. Just noticing what the sort of message that you're picking up maybe behind things is. So an example might be an antibacterial cleaner, as to whether there's a sort of message about nature when they're selling those, and or sort of laundry detergents, and whether there's this sort of something feeding into maybe an aversion around getting dirty. Or maybe there's an encouragement to actually go out and, get messy, get mucky, because it's completely reversible. So there's a positive message that might often be given there. I also shared how my relationship with nature got broken, and what that sort of looked like for me. So yes, do read that, and perhaps you might like to share or to journal, don't need to share it publicly by any means, how things are for you right now. Possibly things are really healthy. So then maybe you could think about what you'd say to somebody who was in the situation that I was in, or maybe what you would do for somebody in such a position. And hopefully this course will offer some ideas as well, so that it's not just about sort of healing necessarily our own relationship. It's also about understanding other people who maybe are having sort of difficulties, and at least that we can be compassionate towards them and understand sort of maybe how that comes about, so that we're not in this kind of place of being very judgmental, which I think can be very, very unhelpful. Not just being judgmental to other people, but also towards ourselves. It ends up being a barrier and a disconnection, another place where we kind of disconnect. So compassion, I hope you might notice, is a really a point that I really want to emphasize. Self-compassion and compassion for others is so important. I think it's really difficult to do any of this work without bringing a sort of intention to be compassionate. It's not always easy to be compassionate. It's something we have to kind of practice and work at. But it's really important to sort of look at, as well as the things that we might be less happy with, look at the things that are going well, because we do have this negativity bias, as I mentioned in the last video. So it's really important that for every kind of negative we come up with, we're actually finding lots of positives as well, because they carry much less weight in our minds. So we have to kind of work a little bit to address that balance. And another element that we're bringing in today is about looking with fresh eyes. So this is links into this kind of concept of perspective. So partly we're starting to look at things as though we've never seen them before. This idea of the beginner's mind. So as though you were a baby or alien I've made a separate video for this, so just to give some guidance around how you might do that. Another lovely way that you can get involved with this is actually, hopefully I can bring the picture, so I just did a little journal, is to maybe do something, some artwork or something. So drawing and things can be a really nice way to look at something more closely and to notice things in a way that might be different. You may be very used to drawing things, and I've got absolutely no technical skill, so it's something really different for me to be able to go and kind of draw or paint or what have you. And it really doesn't matter what it looks like at the end, or how much technical skill you've got. The key thing actually is about the kind of observing part and the kind of connecting with it emotionally, creatively, and putting it onto paper, and to sort of see what it is that you're connecting with, what's your sort of angle on it, those sorts of things. It doesn't have to be a kind of lifelike creation. It could be something quite abstract. You could do something other than drawing. You could do some other creative activity, but that can be a really nice thing to try, to see if that sort of brings something out that you don't necessarily notice things in the same way when you're looking in different ways. I mean, you could also use photography, but that requires quite a lot of skill to stay in this sort of mindful place. And there are some lovely people who actually guide mindful photography. So that's part of the perspective element, is actually sort of looking again, seeing what you don't necessarily see. When we kind of label something as a tree, we kind of go, oh yeah, that's a tree, move on, rather than taking time with it and seeing, what's this particular tree like, what's its quality like, what are the things that tree doesn't quite cover, what does that label not catch, what does it not tell me about this beautiful tree. Then the other element of perspective is considering it from the other's point of view. So what would it be like to be a tree? What would it be like to be there for centuries perhaps, and in all elements, right the way through the seasons, and having absolutely no control over birds and squirrels and things coming and going. How does that relate perhaps to your own experience? So, what does a tree need? Those sorts of things. And you can try this with not just trees, but anything, and people. In fact, you can try it with other people. Lots of these things, sort of looking with fresh eyes and all the mindfulness elements, you could apply to people as well. So it's something really to experiment with. And then finally, there's a section about reviewing the gratitude and connection practice. And even if you've only managed to do a little bit of that this week, I really hope that you've been able to just have a go at it and see how it is for you, and whether it's something to sort of try on for size, but whether it's something that you could incorporate into a more regular practice, more regular daily or weekly sort of practice there. So I'll leave it there, but looking forward to hearing your reflections in the Facebook group or in the comments to this video.